And good morning. I have the unenviable task today of talking about paragraph writing. Now, in the past, you've learned how to write full papers. We've talked about thesis statements and supporting details, but to begin this year, we're going to start small. We're going to look at the paragraph because many people think a paragraph is just a series of sentences that goes on and on for a while before you're finally able to tab and start a new line. But let's take a closer look at what a paragraph actually is. There are different definitions out there. What is a paragraph? Well, some would say a paragraph has to be a fully formed idea. You raise a question or a point and you fully back it up. Others consider paragraphs to sort of be like breathing. Anytime you just feel the need to pause before you move on, you can stop and add something new in there. Some people think paragraphs are a microcosm of the whole paper. They have to be structured the same way. It really depends on who your teacher is and what your subject is. Today I'm going to give you a model for writing paragraphs that you should use throughout this class, and it's pretty universal, so you should be able to find that it works anywhere. We're going to look at three different parts of the paragraph, and then there's going to be a challenge at the end that you're going to need to turn in, so be sure that you at least stick around for that. So, what is a paragraph made out of? It's made out of three things. Number one, the topic sentence. Number two, supporting sentences. And number three, the conclusion sentence. Now, this should sound familiar. When you write a paper, you have your thesis and your intro, your body paragraphs, and your conclusion. It's the same thing. So these are the three elements of a paragraph. If you don't have these things, it's not really a paragraph. It's just somebody rambling on and on. Let's take a look at what each one of these three things means. The topic sentence is simple. It states the idea. It should be the first sentence. Paragraphs are not terribly long, so you need to get to the point right away. It should only be one idea. If you have multiple things to talk about, that's called an entire paper, or that's called a thesis statement. But a paragraph is only about one thing. You need to decide what that is. It's going to control what you talk about in the rest of the paragraph. So don't start talking about how much you love birthdays in the topic sentence and then spend the rest of the time talking about balloons. You have to pick one or the other. Do you want to talk about balloons or do you want to talk about birthdays? Maybe the whole thing is about birthdays and that paragraph is about balloons, but you need to make sure that you're clear. It should be very general. You're not going to get into specifics in that topic sentence. Now the supporting sentences, this is where you do get specific, and this is where that you do your proving. You'll probably make a claim in your topic sentence or give some sort of general idea in the topic sentence. In the supporting sentences, this is where you explain why you feel the way you feel, or why you brought the topic sentence up, or why you made the claim you did. Perhaps you're going to use quotes, perhaps you're just going to use your own observations, but you need something to back up that original point. This is true even in a narrative. If you're going to tell us a story about a large, important day in your life, you're going to need to back up why it's an important day. If you're going to need to talk about why such an incident was the beginning of the story, you need to prove why it was the beginning of the story. You need to justify everything that you're doing. So take a look at these notes that I wrote here on the side if you didn't get a chance. But these are the supporting sentences of the paragraph. Finally, you need your concluding sentence. Now, conclusions often get overlooked, but without a good conclusion, paragraphs feel awkward. They feel uneven. You need to make sure that when you end a paragraph, you relate it back to the beginning. If you've listened to notes about how to write a paper before, you know this sounds familiar. This is the same structure as when you write a paper. But in every paragraph, you should relate back to the beginning. How did you prove your topic sentence? You can restate, you can summarize, you can go through each detail if you'd like, or you can add a new thought. So those are the three elements of a paragraph. Now, what makes a paragraph a good paragraph as opposed to a weak paragraph? Because you could have all three of these things and still have a poor paragraph. Well, you're going to need a few more things. Number one, you need development. In other words, did you come up with enough evidence to back up your point? Sometimes that's just one quote, sometimes it's five. But did you make the logical case? Or could somebody reading it poke holes in it? Again, if you're telling a story, did you give us all the information that we needed to understand the story? Did you give too much? You need to make sure that there's that Goldilocks effect, just the right amount. Is there unity in your paragraph? Do all of the sentences in the paragraph relate to the topic? If they don't, then they have no reason to be in your paragraph. Again, this is not a rambling story that you're telling at lunchtime. This is writing. It is clear, it is precise. Get rid of all the details that don't belong. Make sure that it's all unified. And finally, cohesion. Can we go from one point to the next, or are you skipping around all over the place? Remember, when you write down things, people aren't inside your brain. Your brain is a nice thing. It's able to fill in gaps. It's able to put together things that don't quite make sense in order for you to understand them. But when you write things down, all people have to go on is what's there. So make sure that it goes clearly from topic to topic. So here's what you need to do to practice this. And again, this is just an informal assignment. You're going to have a formal paper at the end of the unit. But here's what I want you to do. I need you to write a paragraph about anything. It could be a point that you want to get out there. It could just be a short story that you want to tell. It could be something to do with Of Mice and Men if you really love the story, if you want to practice for the paper. I need you to write a paragraph about anything. When you do, I need you to color code your sentences. I would like you to make your topic sentence one color, your supporting sentences a different color, and your concluding sentence a third color. You can use a highlighter if you want to do this on paper, or you can use just change the font if you do it in Google Docs or if you do it in Word or something like that. I really don't care which color you choose, just make sure that you tell me somewhere on the paragraph. And finally, you need to keep the things in mind. Development, unity, coherence, and you want to keep your paragraph simple. I'm not looking for a full paper here. If it helps you to remember it, I need you to duck on this paper. Development, unity, coherence, keep it concise. So that is your task. Write me one paragraph using these notes on anything you'd like. I'll have a bet that it's going to be hard for you to think of a topic. Don't think too hard. Just the first thing that pops into your head, as long as it's school appropriate, write about it. Turn it in. This will be good practice. Well, thanks for stopping by for this first video of the year. There'll be many more like this as the year goes on. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, you know where I am. And we'll see you out there.